Here's a scenario for you. You have Eclipse IDE downloaded and installed, but you want to get into automation testing. I got your back today. I'm going to be showing you how I set up my workspace when I'm writing with the Selenium library. Let's go. Cool. Now we have Eclipse opened up here. Let's just close this welcome window here. And I know I already have a package open right here, but for the sake of this demo, let's start with a completely fresh project. So let's go up to File here. Let's hit New, and let's select Maven project. Now, when you open up this window, you'll see by default, Use Default Workspace Location will be checked. We're going to leave that as it is. In fact, we'll leave all of these boxes as they are, and we'll just hit Next here. We'll be taken to this page where we'll have to choose an archetype for our Maven project. The archetype that I like to choose will be the Maven archetype simple. From Apache here. So just to double check and clarify, the group ID is org Apache Maven archetypes, and the artifact ID is Maven archetype simple. So I'm going to click on that, hit Next. On this page here, we'll be required to put in our group ID and artifact ID. For group ID, that can be the name of your team or yourself, and the artifact ID will be the name of your project. So for this project, let's say demo. Hit Finish. And you'll see the project start to build itself here in the console. At one point, we'll have to just type in Y to continue the build. And then there we go, build successful. And as we can see here, it is successful because we have demo right here in the Package Explorer. And actually, if you don't see the Package Explorer here, you can navigate up here to Window, Show View, and click on Package Explorer. That way you'll get the window on the side right here. Opening up this package, we can see in the hierarchy we have our source main Java, our source test Java, and as well as all of the other folders that we have as a part of the Maven simple archetype. Before we start anything, let's go into our pom.xml file. In our pom.xml file is where we're going to be setting up Selenium, putting the dependencies, as well as the other repositories that I like to reference. So let's run through that list now. On Maven repository, whenever we navigate to a repository that we want to use, there will be a box right at the bottom here that we can easily just copy and paste and reference. Again, here I have the Selenium Java library that I'll be using to access all of the methods and commands that I'll be using for my automation tests. I'll copy and paste the dependency here, open up Eclipse, and when I paste my dependency, I want to make sure that it's in the dependencies tag here. And I'll hit save real quick, Control S. I will notice we'll get a little building progress bar in the lower right hand of the screen. And that's to let us know that the pom.xml file is grabbing and retrieving the files needed. The next repository I'm going to grab is the AssertJ core repository here. And this is going to be the library that's going to give us our assertions. I'm going to copy this, open up Eclipse, and paste it here. The next repository I'm going to grab here is the WebDriverManager from Bonnie Garcia. And I like using the WebDriverManager because of the fact that it has Chrome driver, it has Edge driver, and all of the different browser drivers in one place that I can grab. The next repository I'm going to grab here is the simple logging facade for Java. That's SLF4J, and that's going to allow us to use the logger when we want to log and debug within our project. So the last repository I'm going to grab here is the Logback Classic module. This is going to allow me to actually log and actually have log messages from the SLF4J repository that I got previously. Both of these repositories can be used individually from each other, but used together, I can effectively make log commands in my code and be able to see that back into the console. And that's mainly why I like to use these both together. Okay, so now that we have all of our dependencies in place, let's actually create a JUnit project and run a quick hello world test to make sure that everything's working as intended. So up here, let's navigate to source test/Java and go into our project, and you'll notice that it's the group ID paired with the artifact ID, right-click, go to New, and then we'll click on JUnit test case. Once this window is open here, we're going to check New JUnit Jupyter test. We're going to give our JUnit file a name. So let's say homepage. And then in these boxes here, you can check whatever boxes you want. I'm going to check all of them because I do have use for all of these method stubs here. Before all, before each, after all, and after each. And if we don't use them once they're open, we could always delete them. So I'm just going to click Finish here, and that's going to create our JUnit file. Okay, so we'll come back to our homepage JUnit file here, and I've written a very simple hello world test, and all this is going to do is it's going to go to google.ca and just check that it's the correct website based off of the title in the HTML file. And so I'll just go through the lines of code that I have written here. At the very top, I've created a field, an instantiated logger, to get a debug log and to actually get the title of the website that the test is going to, and so that I can see that in the console. You'll notice that I have a number of errors here, and that's because I haven't imported the correct packages in there, but fixing that should not be too much of an issue, assuming that all of the dependencies in the pom.xml file are working as intended. So let's go to the logger here, click on that, and it should throw up some import options here. I'm going to click on import logger org.slf4j, and you'll notice that it'll import the package immediately. So let's go along this line here for the logger factory. Let's do org.slf4j again. And then for method handles, we'll do the same thing. And again, as I'm clicking and importing each of these packages, you'll see it immediately populate at the very top of this file. Okay, so now that all my packages are imported, let's continue just going through the file here. I've also instantiated the WebDriver under driver, and in my before all method, or rather my setup before class method, I've called in the WebDriverManager here, specifically the Chrome driver, and the Chrome driver is what we're going to be using to test our hello world. Under the setup method, I've had driver equal a new Chrome driver. And actually, this isn't in here, but let's call on Selenium here and call a quit method, so that when we run our test, it immediately quits out of Google Chrome once it's run. So here's the test. Right here, we go to google.ca. We grab the title under a string type. Then we log that. The title of this website is, and ideally we want it to be Google. And of course, the argument that we have here is going to be title. And then we're going to make our assertion here, and we're going to assert that the title, that is the title that we get from the HTML document within the website that we just visited, is going to equal Google. So let's run this test. We'll navigate up here. We'll click on this Run Homepage button here. Press OK to save and launch. Nice. We see that we've run a test here, and it's been a success. Greens all across the board.
And that's all there really is to it. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment down below. Otherwise, have fun and happy testing.